The government says unemployment is 4%. Sounds great, right? But here's what they're not telling you. 104 million Americans aren't working and aren't even looking anymore. They just vanished from the official numbers. So when politicians brag about job growth, they're hiding the fact that the actual workforce is shrinking. We're talking about millions of people who've given up, been displaced by AI, or retired early because the math no longer works. And if fewer people are paying taxes while the government debt keeps climbing, you're watching a system that's running out of runway. Let's break down what the job numbers are actually hiding. So how does the government actually count unemployment? Most people think it's simple. Add up everyone without a job, divide by the total population, and boom, you've got your number. That's not even close to how it works. The Bureau of Labor Statistics has a specific rule. You only count as unemployed if you're actively looking for work right now. Not looking anymore? You don't exist in their math. You stopped applying last month because you got tired of rejection? Poof. Gone from the official statistics. The 4% unemployment rate isn't measuring how many people aren't working. It's measuring how many people are still trying to find work. Think about it this way. It's like a restaurant counting how many hungry people exist by only counting the people standing in line. If someone's too hungry to wait or too tired to bother showing up, they don't get counted. The restaurant says the line is short, everything's fine, when actually there's a whole crowd outside that gave up. The real number that matters is the labor force participation rate. This measures what percentage of the entire working-age population is either employed or actively seeking work. Right now, that number sits around 62 to 63%. We haven't seen numbers that low since the 1970s. That's the actual story nobody's talking about. Picture a town of 100 people. About 62 of them are either working or looking for work. That leaves 38 people who've just stopped. They're not counted as unemployed. They're not in any official statistic. They're completely outside the system, invisible to the data. Those 104 million Americans outside the labor force include retirees, students, and disabled workers. But millions of them would actually work if the numbers made sense. They did the math. They looked at what jobs pay, what rent costs, what food expenses look like. They decided it doesn't work and stopped trying. When fewer people pay taxes, the government needs to borrow more money to cover its bills. The debt keeps growing. Interest payments on that debt keep climbing faster than anything else in the budget. And the shrinking workforce means fewer people splitting the bill. So if unemployment is really only 4%, why does everyone you know feel like the economy is broken? Why does it feel like people are either struggling or checked out? Because the official number tracks job seekers, not workers. It's a math trick that makes things look better than they actually feel. The real unemployment picture includes everyone who's not working, not just people still trying to find jobs. These 104 million people break into 4 distinct groups, and each one tells you why the workforce is actually shrinking. First up, the silent retirees. These are people who hit 55, 60, 62, and just stopped looking. Some got laid off and decided that instead of pounding the pavement for months, they'd just retire early. Others had enough saved up and looked at the stress, the commute, the whole thing, and decided it wasn't worth it anymore. Some did the math on inflation eating into their savings and realized they needed to cut expenses, not add a job. They're done. Permanently out. Then you've got the discouraged. These people applied for jobs, got rejected, applied again, got rejected again, and eventually stopped applying altogether. They're not officially unemployed because they stopped looking, but they're also not working. They're just waiting for something to change, waiting for a company to call back, waiting for the economy to feel different. We're talking about 5.8 million people in this exact spot right now. The AI displaced is the newer group, and it's growing fast. People who worked in data entry, customer service, basic coding, copywriting, graphic design. Jobs that AI can now do cheaper and faster. Some got laid off. Some saw the writing on the wall and left before they got pushed out. Some are still employed but absolutely terrified because they know their job is next. They've dropped to part-time, went back to school, or they're doing gig work that barely covers rent. Picture someone who spent 15 years in a call center making decent money. Then the company automated 60% of the work. They offered him a pay cut and fewer hours. He looked at the numbers. Less money, more stress, zero job security. He stopped looking. He's 52 now, living with family, waiting to hit 62 so he can claim early Social Security. The opt-out generation is younger, people in their 20s and 30s who looked at the job market, looked at housing costs, looked at student debt, and decided the deal is broken. They're not trying to climb the ladder because the ladder costs $2,100 a month in rent before they even think about food or car insurance. All four groups stopped paying income taxes and payroll taxes. They stopped contributing to Social Security and Medicare. But they still need roads, police, emergency rooms, and eventually they'll need Social Security because they didn't earn enough to save anything. Here's what connects all four groups. They can't afford to work. Or rather, they can't afford to work and also live. Let's use Los Angeles as a real example because the numbers are brutal and public. Rent in a decent neighborhood runs about $2,100 a month. Security deposit is $4,000 just to get the keys. Then you've got car insurance, gas, food, phone bill, utilities. Monthly living expenses hit $5,000 easy, often more. That's not luxury. That's just surviving in the city. A lot of jobs in LA pay $18 to $22 an hour. That's roughly $2,800 to $3,500 a month before taxes. After taxes, you're looking at maybe $2,200 to $2,800 in your actual pocket. Your rent alone eats 75% of your take-home pay. Everything else, food, transportation, utilities, comes from the remaining 25%. So a 25-year-old with a college degree does the math and realizes she can't afford to live alone on a job that requires her to live in the city. She moves back with her parents. She stops job seeking. She's now part of the 104 million. The government loses her income tax and payroll tax. A single parent with one kid does the same math and realizes he needs to work 2 jobs just to stay housed. 2 jobs means no time for school, no time to look for better work, no time for anything. He's exhausted and broke. Eventually, he stops trying because the system is designed to grind him down. When people can't afford to live on entry-level wages, they either leave the city, leave the workforce, or both. This shrinks the tax base in exactly the places where housing costs are highest. Major cities and coastal areas. Those are also the places with the most expensive services like homelessness, public health, and infrastructure. The less money coming in from income taxes, the less the city can spend on services. Services get cut. Agencies like the homelessness department lay off workers. Those laid-off workers can't afford rent either. They join the 104 million. The spiral gets tighter. Someone on Reddit mentioned that after rent, car insurance, gas, and food, they had about $200 left for everything else. Phone bill, internet, medical, clothing. 1 car repair ends the month. 1 medical emergency ends the month. 1 unexpected cost and they're in debt. The government is spending money it doesn't have. It's borrowing. The debt is massive. Interest payments on that debt are now the fastest growing part of the federal budget. But the tax base that's supposed to pay it off is shrinking because people can't afford to work. Housing costs aren't just a personal problem. They're directly shrinking the number of people who can afford to pay taxes, which makes government debt mathematically unsustainable. The system is eating itself. The unemployment rate is a trick. It's not measuring joblessness, it's measuring job seeking. Millions stop seeking because the math doesn't work. They're not waiting for the right job. They calculated it. Working doesn't make financial sense when rent costs 3/4 of what they'd earn. Those 104 million people aren't paying taxes. Government debt climbs. Interest payments eat the budget. People still working get squeezed harder to cover the gap. It's not sustainable. The system is quietly breaking, and the official unemployment rate hides it perfectly. If unemployment is really 4%, why does your local economy feel like it's collapsing? Drop a comment. Is it the job market or cost of living?